Hi and welcome to Andy with the Spanners. Now, time to get Andy with our spanners. Today we got time to actually get stuck into this CB900. So let's get on with it. So first things first, we got to get down into it. We got to get the seat off. So to get the seat off on these, we've got to take the side panels off first before the seat comes off. Unlike a lot of more recent bikes, these seats, there's no hinges, there's no lock on the side or anything like that. They're actually bolted on just under here, so we have to take the side panels off to get to it basically.
So let's get that GoPro out of the way. I don't know what we did with the recordings from it. We could have given you some nice close-ups, but for some reason or other I don't seem to be able to find the footage from that, but there we are. We get the side panels out of the way, and that reveals the mounting bolts for the seat. As I explained a moment ago, these seats are bolted onto the frame and there's no locks or latches, so it's nice and secure from that point of view. It's just a bit of a pain when you want to get to your battery or anything else. There's also no storage under the seat on these bikes as a result as well. I can only apologise for the poor camera work here with a nice view of my back and my backside for that matter. Yeah, we'll do better. We will do better. Well, we have at least managed to take the battery out of the bike. That's a good start, isn't it? So let's get down to business. Now we've speeded up the video here a bit to move things along. It does take a little bit of time. What you'll be able to notice on these carbs is that someone's been here before. You can clearly see that the screws are being undone with an Allen key. Now these were always a JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard crosshead screw, and these have got those are dome-headed Allen screws, which is not ideal because the actual Allen key that it takes is tiny, so you're lucky if you can get them all to come off. I think we had probably one or two screws that really did take some persuading to come out. As you can see inside the float bowls, it's pretty gunky. It absolutely stinks. I mean, you could not believe how strong a smell. I've seen worse from the point of view of the gunk build-up in the bottom of the carburetors before now, but in this particular instance there was just this horrible sticky residue in the bottom there. And once you've got the float bowl off, you can move on to extracting the jets. Now you can already see the state of those jets, and because we were packing up the workshop ready to move, and we'll talk about that in another video, the lack of tools, I would have had the correct size spanner for this, but had to resort to some parallel pliers instead to crack these bottom bits open. But it just does take a fair chunk of work to get these apart. Once they came apart, the jets and the tubes, everything inside there was caked in thick gunk. It was a very difficult thing to try to clean, and they spent quite a lot of time soaking in carburetor cleaner. Now here's a great example of what I was talking about with these tiny little button head or dome headed Allen screws. They take such a tiny Allen key in there. They strip and round out so easily. As you can see, I was pressing down quite hard on the Allen key, checking that my Allen key wasn't rounded in any shape or form. Trying the other end in case it's a tighter fit, so I can really press down on it to make sure it stays firmly in there. And no matter what I'm trying here, it's quite clear that has rounded off. So then we get to the parallel pliers. Now if you don't have a set of parallel pliers, they are well worth trying to track down. I'll see if I can find a link to some, and if I can find a link to a pair of parallel pliers, I'll put that down in the description so that you can get your own. I'll probably stick an Amazon link in or something like that. Now I'm looking what other tools I've got to see what I can do to try to extract that screw. It's quite clear that no matter how hard I try with that Allen key, it's just a bit of a dead loss really. That's managed to round itself off quite nicely. So it's get into the toolbox and see what else we can improvise with to try and get that screw to come out. Well, resorting to different approaches, maybe thinking about cutting a slot in it, maybe else. One of the things that I've then thought about doing was using a spline bit, which you could tap gently down into it, and that seemed to do the trick. I managed to find a spline bit that was just a little bit on the fat side and tapped it home, and that was just enough to break it free. That saved the day, and out came the offending screw. So time to move on now to the slides, and basically it's more of the same, more sticky gunky nastiness down in there, so it's just been a case of just gently teasing those slides up, getting them free, and then cleaning off that sticky residue, getting them back together and just working our way along. So that sticky residue is also giving us a problem when it comes to trying to get the jets out. So once we've undone the jets, I'll give it a good shake. Normally you tip it upside down and the jet drops out into your hand. These just did not want to come out. There was so much sticky residue, like a varnishy kind of gunky residue in there. Twirl it round and round as much as you like with a screwdriver. Did not want to drop out. In the end, a bit of wire, and had to just keep trying to fish it out until eventually I could get the jets out. So there we are with a set of built carbs, but you might notice these carbs don't look quite as shiny as the ones we were just working on. We had to admit defeat with that set of carbs for the short term anyway. Those jets were so heavily gummed up and so tight, tightly packed with gunk, we could not get them clean. They were left overnight to soak in the carb cleaner. So we had to resort to a spare old set of carbs that we had kicking around because we needed to get the bike moving and get those jets on order. So we'll have another part of this video coming later when we get the new jets in and we can finish off the rebuild on that set of carbs. But for now, we can just focus on getting those carbs back onto the bike so that we can get this bike to run. We're hoping that this old spare set is any good. We'll soon find out. So on goes that set of carbs. Now at this point in time you're thinking, how are you going to get those old carbs in? Hard rubbers that don't want to give much and don't flex much. You'll have seen other people with lumps of wood in there and putting levers down through the frame and all the rest of it. But the way that I've always done it, and I find the best, is a good old ratchet strap. It's nice soft material so it won't harm anything. You can get it nicely wrapped around the front of the engine there, and then basically loop it round through behind the carburetors, and then you let the ratchet do the work. You can push and shove and twist and that all you like, and sometimes it just won't go, but there's no substitute for you know, the amount of force that ratchet strap will put on those carbs. It will just pull them in nicely under control. You're not levering things with, you know, with a bar or anything like that. Now, as you can see, it goes quite close to the motor. If you're worried about paint on your motor or anything like that, then just put a bit of cloth behind it. But if you watch, look at that. Just ratchet straps it down in, and then there you go. It just pops straight in on those rubbers. Job done. If you need, if you find on your particular engine that it's not going in straight, then of course you can do what I'm doing here, is reposition slightly. Drop your strap to a slightly different position. You know, I'm going for more central because it wants a straighter pull. You can go underneath the intakes if that helps you, like I've done just there. Whatever works for you. You'll find the point where, you know, where your rubbers are fighting you. And then you'll just see that as you ratchet strap it, it just pulls it in really nicely. It's a great tip for you. Now we've run into a bit of an issue here, and the airbox didn't seem to want to move properly. It looked as though someone has used a slightly long bolt to secure that earth strap, which is sort of fouling a bit on the airbox, but also the routing of that earth lead, it was getting caught between the airbox and the frame. So I've just rerouted that to move it back on what looks like more of a sensible route, and that should free us up enough wriggle room that we can now just get that airbox to slide forward onto the carbs like it should do. As you can see, this airbox is putting up a bit of a fight. It's normally quite a straightforward thing, but with this one for some reason just seemed to hang up just about everywhere. As you were trying to slide it forward, it seemed to be catching on the frame, it seemed to be hanging up at the top. It seemed to just hang up everywhere, and it just needed a lot of finagling and wriggling around to get it to go where we wanted it to go. It just seemed like everything was slightly in the way. Even getting the glasses on just to have a good look and see, but it normally would just slide backwards and forwards on the slot on the frame, but we've even undone that bolt completely, and it just didn't seem to want to go. But you just have to persevere with these things until you can spot what's going on. And at this point, just as you're getting everything together and you're thinking about getting it started, that's when you move the choke lever and the lever breaks off in your hands. So we've had to replace the little lever there. It clearly had signs of previously been having arrowdited back together at some point in its life, so it was not really a surprise. So basically we got hold of a spare one and we're busy replacing it, which is what you can see us doing there in the corner of the screen there. We really should have moved the camera for you to get a better view of what we were doing, and we're learning as we do each video. So yeah, the next time we do one, we'll have some better shots and we'll make sure that we get a clearer view of what we're doing, just to make those videos a bit better for you. So out comes the trusty old battery charger to give it a bit of a boost, just to make sure. That battery charger, it's got sticky tape around it, it's got that reinforced tape around it, it's been dropped, it's been run over by a Land Rover, it's had, you name it, it's had all sorts done to it. It's about 30 years old, but it still works. So we're getting ready, and let's give this thing a crank and see if we can get it a run.
Soak a bit. What we've got happening there is not enough fuel getting where it needs to be at the right point. It runs, but it's not. It would be nice if it was sweet straight off, but it's not. That's because the fuel's had a chance to get through. And as soon as you start burning that fuel off, then it goes exploding. It needs a little bit of time for the fuel to soak, dissolve some more of the sugar.
So what I hear right now is time for a cup of tea is what I hear.
Yeah, that's soaked a bit here. You turn the fuel off.
It was on reserve, so we could try it with on full on. Sometimes it might be if the tap's more blocked in the reserve bit and not on the open bit.
But it's better each time it's run, isn't it?
It just needs a little bit of
Well, that's about as far as we can take it. We need to get the new jets into those original carbs to really sort this out. But for now, the bike runs, which is good enough for us to get it moved. We've got to move everything. There'll be more on that in the next video. Keep watching and don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out.